Oh, hi, good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning,
That
Jess.
was way more fun than I was expecting, Stephanie. How are you?
See, she's a little giggly. She's a little excited. This steely prosecutor. We brought her down with a jingle. Good morning. How are you in the chickens this morning?
We're well, thank you.
I don't know why Travis and I are both obsessed with your chickens because I don't.
Yeah.
But I am too. I go outside thinking I'm just going to check on their food or something, and an hour later I drag myself back in. They live in a fascinating little chicken universe.
You're starting to tweet about them. You said just reporting in on the chickens, who seemed very excited about the large extra doses of food and lengthy visits from humans that have been the hallmark of their day. So they're cuddly. They're cuddly. Your chickens.
They are cuddly, and if you pick them up, they purr. They actually will purr like a cat.
Wow.
All right,
we had chickens growing up. I know this fact.
You are fascinating. Okay, let's. We decided we have to do a sisters-in-law happy hour because we've just had our friend Jill Wine-Banks on. We just had Barb McQuaid. Congratulations! It's the #1 political podcast I hear right out of the box.
We're really exciting. We call it #sisters-in-law, and it's been a work in progress for over a year. But the timing was great because we got to start out talking about impeachment, and we are hoping folks will stay engaged in good government and legal issues moving forward, so we never have a repeat of the Trump administration.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and you had to peel me off the ceiling about witnesses for a while, but what was your whole take on the impeachment and how everything went down?
So, the House impeachment managers did such a spectacular job that I'm inclined to trust their judgments. And I think that there would have been a lot of lengthy litigation that would have been unproductive if they had tried to call the hostile witnesses around the former president. Plus, I'm not a big fan of putting a witness on the stand if you don't know what they're going to say, but you know that their whole goal is to take you down. On the other hand, Stephanie, I would have liked to have heard from some of the people that worked in the Capitol, from janitors who had to clean feces off of the walls, from police officers, from staffers, from the cafeteria workers who had to hunker down during the insurrection. I would really have liked to have heard a record of the experiences of people in the Capitol.
Yeah. I mean, it must make you insane as a prosecutor that this just is not a real trial, right? Like 57-43 to convict is not an exoneration. It's just this political cowardice of Republicans because it really was an overwhelming case and they really did do an amazing job, I thought, right?
So I view impeachment very differently than I view a criminal trial. I think that they have very different purposes. And this was, we've heard this a lot as impeachments go. This was the most bipartisan vote. This was a real rebuke of Trump, even though it didn't have the desired outcome of banning him from office. It begins to build support in among some Republicans to disavow the former president. So I see it as productive, although obviously disappointing. I mean, everyone wanted to see it have an outcome. The real question going forward is, what's the Justice Department going to do? Will they be, the burdens are all different. DOJ's got to have admissible evidence, and not all evidence, not everything that we read in the papers is admissible in court. And it's got to add up to proof beyond a reasonable doubt. They have to prove what Trump's intent was. It's hard to do that. But it'll be, I think it'll at least be interesting to watch the investigative process to see what happens in the January 6th commission. The country has a lot of growth to do in the next months and years.
Well, you made a point of this GOP chair was quoted as saying of Pat Toomey's vote, we didn't send him there to vote his conscience. We didn't send him there to do the right thing. And you said we need to do a better job with civic education in this country unless we want to be nothing more than greedy people grabbing for power with no ethic of public service. And I agree. I mean, Mitch McConnell, that statement must have made you insane. That he could have done the closing argument for the impeachment managers right after he votes to acquit.
Well, it did. And I'm not proud of this, but I've become really cynical. I used to always be a glass half full kind of person, but I viewed McConnell's statement as just an effort to conserve his ability to go to his fundraisers and get them to continue to give money so that he can try to reclaim the Congress in 22. So I viewed it very cynically, but can I please make the technical lawyer point here? The Senate voted on the jurisdiction issue before they commenced proceedings, and they determined that they had jurisdiction to try a former president. That issue should have been concluded. Whether you agreed with it or not, that's the rules. That's sort of like the rules of procedure. And once the Senate votes, that's how things move forward. I thought it was very disingenuous to hear people saying on the flip side, well, I didn't agree with the vote we took, so I'm not going to vote to convict. That seemed to me to be just the height of failure to follow the rules. And there aren't that many rules about impeachment, right?
Yeah. Can I use a legal term? That was bull. It was a bull technicality, bull reason. Cowardly.
I think that's fair. Prosecutors say that a lot.
Okay. But so, obviously you saw how Vice President Harris yesterday, answered. They said, as a prosecutor, do you think Donald Trump should be prosecuted criminally? And she sort of sidestepped it and said, as vice president, my focus is on COVID relief. But I think that, and, how Jen Psaki offered that we're going to try something new here. The DOJ is going to be independent and we're going to let them do their job. I mean, I do think that is one of the steps in restoring confidence in our justice system in America, don't you? I mean, personally, the answer is yes. Of course she thinks he should be prosecuted, but I mean,
that's the most important thing, right? And look, DOJ will not make friends here. Whether they prosecute or not, there are going to be people that are going to criticize and try to be armchair quarterbacks. But these are the pros from Dover. We just need to let them figure out what the evidence is and decide if anybody needs to be prosecuted, and if so, do their jobs. It's not about this emotion of, do we want to see people prosecuted?
Yeah.
That's maybe what impeachment is about. Criminal prosecution is about whether the evidence is there.
Well, and Joyce, I think I keep saying that this is not about vengeance. This is about, the rule of law in our country. It's about precedent. It's about, I don't see how they can all let all of this just go. Using a foreign power to help get elected, obstructing justice 10 times to cover that up, trying to use a foreign power like Ukraine to cheat to get elected, all of it. And the Capitol, they're trying to subvert our democracy and stop our democratic processes. I mean, I think all of it. How do we just let it stand and say, that's okay, let's move on?
We have a checks and balances system in this country, and I would say that Congress has failed. I mean, impeachment, the Democrats did do the right thing, but there was not enough political persuasion to get Trump out of office, so that didn't work very well. We'll see whether the court, and look, I just don't prejudge the courts. Some of these charges are very difficult to prove. And so there may be evidence, there may not be. What my hope is that there will be an independent investigation conducted by DOJ. That's my expectation. That's what we're entitled to. But ultimately, this is up to voters. And we need to have better educated citizens who won't return a Trump to office, who will, look at the currently vacationing junior senator from Texas and question whether or not someone like that should be in leadership, or Governor DeSantis, who sends a vaccine to wealthy areas where his donors live and exacts a political price from other counties.
And just like Trump says, maybe I won't send it to places that are criticizing me. I mean, it's despicable. Let's talk about this the Benny Thompson NAACP case. You tweeted, Benny Thompson has just filed suit against Trump, Rudy, Proud Boys, and the Oath Keepers for interfering with performance of his official duties under the KKK Act. It's a civil suit, not criminal. You said the key allegations, which must be proved by a preponderance of the evidence, not beyond a reasonable doubt, as in a criminal case, is that the defendants coordinated and executed a common plan to prevent Congress from discharging its official duties in certifying the election. I've heard other legal experts say that they think this is actually a pretty strong case, and maybe it's that you said this is not a reasonable doubt case. This is civil, right? So this is like the OJ, we have the OJ trials to say the difference, right? The
burden of proof is lower. Look, these are exceptional lawyers. at the NAACP. They've brought in Joe Sellers, an old civil rights lawyer now in private practice. Things I'll be looking for is whether or not the congressman is joined by other plaintiffs. I would expect we'll see some additional plaintiffs join in. And the most interesting thing in a civil case is discovery. Once they get past a motion to dismiss, which they probably get past here, it's a good claim under Section 1985, the Ku Klux Klan Act, then the plaintiffs can try to get discovery from all of these defendants, including depositions. And that could be an extraordinarily revealing process.
Yeah, I am operating under the penniless and imprisoned strategy as it goes with Donald Trump. But that's just me. I'm a hothead. So, by the way, you can tell this might be important because they just confirmed that Rudy Giuliani has been dumped as I don't know why, Joyce. He was doing such a good job. He only lost 60 lawsuits, but they've said they've made a point of saying the mayor is not currently representing President Trump in any legal matters, right? So that comes right as Rudy is sued in this Dominion voting system and named in this Benny Thompson suit. I can't think that's a coincidence that they made a point of trying to separate themselves from Rudy, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's great. You can do all sorts of things after the fact, but that doesn't really change what happened at the time.
Right. Well, by the way, speaking of old business and new business, reports this week revealed Roger Stone was surrounded by Oath Keepers who did his security while he was in D.C. for the January 6th rally. He's also been being investigated as part of a criminal probe from 2019 that he was involved in an intent to threaten a federal judge, as we remember from Proud Boys members. So once again, starting from Mueller report, Joyce, he's all mixed up in all of this. And you're right. I hope I'm not getting cynical too, because I just have to believe that justice is coming for these mother some way, in some case. I mean, I don't honestly at this point with Trump, I'm like, I don't care if it's like Al Capone or OJ. I don't care which thing we get him for, because it just it must make you crazy, just the amount of criminality of all of these people, and just our system of justice to go, yes, they're just all going to all get away with it. What do you think?
Well, the issue with Roger Stone wasn't our criminal justice system. It was a former president who handed out pardons in a very self-serving manner. Fortunately, I guess unfortunately for Mr. Stone, Trump wasn't able to pardon him going forward or for anything other than the specific conduct that he pardoned. So I suspect justice is still coming for Roger Stone.
Okay. And then also Georgia. I mean, let's talk about Georgia for a second.
Yeah.
So Fani Willis, I mean, this looks like it really has a strong case to me, but there we are. The Republicans were trying to, they aren't going to be able to do it. They were going to amend the state constitution to try to stop her from having a jury in Fulton County because it's largely minority, right? To try to also cover and protect Donald Trump in Georgia.
Fulton County is a very interesting place. It includes Buckhead, one of the wealthiest zip codes in the country, and northern parts of Fulton County. I suspect you would get jurors who would be strongly pro-Trump. So a Fulton County jury is a mixed bag. This Georgia statute, though, really looks like it was written for the conduct that Trump engaged in on tape for prosecutors to play for the jury at trial. And I'm sure that y'all remember the Paul Manafort trial where one of the jurors came out and she said, look, I'm pro-Trump, I believe in Trump, but the evidence forced me to convict. I think the Georgia situation could be real interesting.
Oh, so happy. You just dropped little happy pearls left and right this morning. And I loved what you said, how it all ties together. You tweeted, we need a return to truth in politics. These outright lies. If you can politicize a pandemic and an insurrection, why not try it with a power outage? It only stops and there is only accountability for elected officials when sufficient numbers of people demand truth. And it really is despicable that it's the Donald Trump playbook. Blame everybody else, take no responsibility, and we all know what the causes of what's happening in Texas is. I mean, but you're right. It just becomes a playbook, it seems like, for Republicans in any situation, right?
I think that's right. The death of truth is the death of democracy.
Yeah. Well, and because in the courtroom, you used to know there's only one set of facts. Something is true or it's not. It's not, everything's not an opinion, right?
That's the whole purpose of our criminal justice system. It's to figure out what the facts are. Yes, we send people to jail, we rehabilitate and we punish. But one of the most important, most compelling parts of the criminal justice process is getting to the truth so that everyone can understand what happened.
Joyce, I don't mean this in a creepy way. I find every single thing about you, including your chickens, completely fascinating. For instance, this is why I must do a
I don't
happy
take it in a creepy way at all, Stephanie.
Because someone tweeted, "What's your earliest memory in politics?" And you tweeted, "My mom joining in Cesar Chavez's farm workers' protests. We never had grapes in our house till I was in high school." And I just picture a little
Wow.
Blanche Dubois, like, "Grapes? Are these grapes washed?" Like, I need to know everything about your childhood because you had sort of political activism injected in your blood from an early age.
Yeah, I grew up in a liberal Jewish California family, and I thought everybody grew up that way until I was much older.
Do you like grapes to this day? Do you have grapes currently?
I confess, I buy them sometimes, but I think it's just so inculcated that I sort of look at grapes and move on a lot of the time.
Oh, wow.
Just politically.
Huh.
Okay. All right. All right. We're doing our sisters-in-law happy hour. We have to do it. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. All of my favorite legal ladies. It's always a delight. And I'm glad you enjoyed your jingle. You're freshly jingled now.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Goodbye. There she
Thanks,
goes.
Joyce.
Bye,
Thanks,
y'all.
Joyce.
There she goes. Joyce fans.
Oh,
Love
Yep.
her so much. Oh my God. She's like a coastal elite meets a
She's pretty awesome.
farm girl with a yawl. Right? We need her to go try the Georgia case in her yawls. And she brings a chicken under each arm and does the yawls.